Hello, I'm making this video. I am 28 years in recovery, and the place I work at, we got into a discussion about someone who has 13 DUIs, has not had a license in 26 years, and we were discussing different things that government could do to help people who are struggling with alcohol and drug issues. My idea is that when a person is charged, that especially if they have multiple charges, that mandatory treatment occur, and when they aren't working, days they aren't working, that they have to do inpatient treatment. On days they are not working, or they are working, they can do outpatient, but have be intensive and required to follow through in order to help them recover from addiction. It is a brain issue. It is a disease. It isn't something you just fluff off. My coworker, who is much younger than I, hates drunks, thinks that counseling is useless, and that prison is more appropriate. In some cases, that may be true, but in general, I maybe I'm a bit of a bleeding heart on this because I've been on both sides of the coin. That it doesn't help anybody to put them into prison and not help them work a program in which they can free themselves of addiction. Uh, I wasn't going to argue with the person, but the idea that she hates drunks, well, I am a drunk. I am a non-practicing drunk, but I am in recovery, and that she hates drunks. One can only assume that she hates me and she doesn't. Part of hitting something is fear and inability to understand what another person is going through. The basis of her rant was more about what she had experienced and not what anyone else had. So, right there, she is taking it from one perspective, which is never good when you're trying to decide the fate of other people, because one experience is not all experiences. Everyone has different experience, whether you are the person who has the addiction or you're the person who is affected by it. And I think in that regard, there can be things done, programs set up to be able to help people who are struggling, that know they are willing to go through the program, and it has to be stringent enough. There are no shortcuts, and I just don't see the government being willing to do that. But it is a necessary evil in order to achieve a goal. People who have an addiction problem to help them face up. When you have someone driving around with 13 DUIs, there has to be a plan for that person not be able to drive. And the fact that this person got in and was able to get into a car and drive, it shows a lack of planning on the part of the person who previously, the persons who had previously had this person who was drinking and DUI problem in front of them. And that's a person that has probably not experienced a drunk driver, and they were sympathetic to the person in helping them avoid jail. Sometimes it is the hard things that we have to face that mold us and change us and make us better. Unfortunately, after 13 DUIs, this gentleman did not learn his lesson. The number unlucky 13 resulted in the death of a 12-year-old girl. There have to be changes made. We have to look at things to provide for people, even if they're unwilling to accept the fact that they have an addiction. Having that many DUIs proves that that person does have an issue, and there could be no leeway. And he's probably going to prison and not getting out. I mean, it's a murder. Of course, legal system being what it is, he may be able to play and be out sooner. Meanwhile, this young person has lost their life. We have to change the way we look at people who are getting DUIs. We have to be tougher. We have to hold people to a higher standard. And I think that starts with changing the way some of these judges are viewing people who have DUIs. And if you have more than 3 or more DUIs, you should be a person that the government should be focusing on, the system, to try and change that behavior, to modify it in a way that is beneficial for the majority of society. Unfortunately, the legal system does not bend easily, and there has to be a force within the people to make this happen. And there has to be a movement to hold people to a higher standard, higher morals, in order to achieve a goal of being able to just drive safely on highways. You know, I have a bit of a problem with concealed carry, not for the people who legitimately need it for a job or for an area which may be high crime in which they work. And if a person has good judgment, I have no problem with someone carrying, but you have too many people who are getting guns and reacting to things in an immature way and immediate reaction to something that is viewed as disrespect. We have to lift the morals of people up in direction that benefits U.S. society. I'm not sure how we do that, but we have to get the dialogue moving in that direction. This is my opinion, and I'm happy to discuss this with anybody, but I'm not trying to take away anyone's ability to drink. I'm trying to take away someone's ability to drink and drive. The gun issue is something completely different. And again, with good judgment, and anyone can carry a gun with good judgment, anyone can drive, but when you are drinking, you need someone behind that wheel who is sober. So maybe always have a person who is a designated driver. So there is there are no issues. That's my thought for the day. Yeah, and I hold no ill will against a coworker who she hates drunks. Her personal experience. I'm not going to go into it, but if, as she stated it, I can understand her dislike of drunks, but to characterize it as everyone, I think that's much too broad. You have to look at each person individually, and when we're younger, we tend to lump everyone in all together. When you reach a depth of maturity and be able to discern people who are using good judgment and people of high character, it's when we are able to separate ourselves from people who don't have that and be able to point out those people that are going to be a problem, whether it be drinking and driving or have a violent uh, aspect to them where they get drinking, maybe they commit violence against another person, whether it be same gender or opposite, or even even God forbid transgender. I don't advocate violence against anyone. Uh, I am tolerant of good people. Good people meaning law-abiding citizens. You know, get a ticket. It doesn't mean that I'm going to dislike you. It's take care of your business. As long as you taking care of your business, I have no problem with you. Now, this is my rant for the day. These addiction things are always on my mind, and this is something that I would like to see changed